Hello, it's a pleasure to meet you all. My name is Tania Silva and let me introduce the others. Nuno Martins, Pedro Cunha, Vator Carvalho and Filomena Soares. The purpose of our presentation is to talk about the development and design of an evaluation interface for Taekwondo athletes first insights. This paper is organized in 5 sections. Section 1 presents the introduction, Section 2 presents a description of the digital media in Taekwondo, Section 3 presents the state-of-art of the main areas covered in this project, Section 4 details the benchmarking of available platforms dedicated to sports, and Section 5 lists the main conclusion and suggestions of the future development. In the last years, the number of Taekwondo athletes in Portugal has registered a continuing increase, presenting in 2020 an increment of more than 1,000 federated athletes. This martial art, traditional from Korea, emerged in the 20th century and resulted from the combination of techniques from another discipline, such as Kung Fu and Karate. In Taekwondo, the development of technological solutions to support athletes' training and performance has been practically non-existent. Data and evaluation are performed manually, which result in several limitations, namely, inaccurate and low-fidelity performed evaluations, delay in identifying difficulties experienced by the athlete, difficulty in clarifying errors, and slowdown in the athlete's evolution and progress. Thus, this study aims to respond to this gap through the development of an interactive digital platform, where the coach and the athlete can monitor and analyze in real time a set of relevant data for the evolution of the athlete, specifically force, acceleration, and speed. In this context, it is possible to promote the theoretical and practical learning of Taekwondo, based on the access to information such as the value of the force applied or the calculation of the speed of the movements performed. This project is integrated in a work team whose focus is the development of the technological and design components. The development of a system that is based on the deep learning allows access to information regarding the athlete's behavior. This technology analyzes the data in a similar way what happens in the neural networks of human brain. It is a method that drives autonomous learning on different devices by constantly processing data. Automating performance enables the ability to respond quickly to numerous adversities, such as perfection position characteristics of Taekwondo. Taekwondo is a combat sport originating in Korea. The word Taekwondo comes from the junction of 3 words, Tae, which means feet, No, a term that symbolizes hands, and finally Do, which means path. The combination of these 3 words give origin to the expression, the path of the feet and hands through the spirit. In summary, this sport is a combat technique where the objective is self-defense through the total use of body and without use of weapons. Taekwondo is a sport where the athlete's muscles are trained and exercised for long periods with a high level of intensity. Although Taekwondo has a vast number of athletes, the evaluations made of the athlete's activity and performance are essentially manual. Therefore, the feedback process, a way to evaluate a certain action from the coach to the athlete, ends up not having the necessary speed and efficiency, which could be obtained with the support of technological research. When feedback is present and structured in the right way at the right time, it plays a decisive role in the evaluation of athletes. Several research led by authors such as Minho has revealed that the more quantitative and pragmatic feedback is, the greater the athlete performance will be. In this perspective, one of the coach's main objects is to obtain as much information from the athlete as possible to make an effective evaluation. However, the vast amount of information related to the athlete's time and movements requires technical support. Thus, to meet this need, the concept of notational performance analysis was created for a better evaluation of the various athletes. In other words, it is where a system, through the advanced technologies such as artificial intelligence or deep learning, evaluates the number characteristics of athletes to produce specific and vital data about them. In this way, according to a study conducted by Sporttech Tokyo, we can observe that trained performance category contains the highest overall percentage, 16.4%. The emergence of innovative strategies in sport with the use of technology has led to great demand for athlete analysis platform by coach and athletes. The determination to progress and display ever better performance result in a constant search for both current evaluation and analysis methods and the new ways of training. For the athlete and the coach to understand the information relative to a certain technique, it must be present in a clear and objective way for a correct and clarifying reading by the users. And this is a fundamental topic of design, guaranteeing the translation of the different data into a graphic solution that allows a simple and effective reading of the information. Stephen Phil has defined some effectiveness criteria to analyze to what extent the data presentation corresponds correctly to the human perception. First, it is necessary to understand if it clearly indicates the type of content being present. Then, it is necessary to pay attention to whether it represents the elements and their values accurately. The next step is observing if the user can quickly evaluate the difference between the different elements. The structuring of the data should be segmented in a logical order. And finally, the criterion of showing how the information should be used. A data structure is considered effective when it organizes all the information in a way that our brain can understand and our eyes can identify the different components. As far as the science of human perception is concerned, one of the first contributions made to this study was the Gestalt principles. Gestalt principles were developed by German psychologists in the 20th century during a study of cognitive psychology. The word Gestalt derived from German and means form. This theory essentially consists of a set of rules that express how the human being, more specifically the human mind, reacts in the face of data captured in the real world. In this sense, even if unconsciously, Gestalt principles are constantly present in various aspects of everyday life, from the way we interpret posters on the streets to the way we combine different types of clothing. Some of the Gestalt principles are, for example, proximity, which states the nearby objects appear to be more related than the more distant objects. Similarity, which holds when the objects appear similar, the tendency is to deduce that they have the same function. Figure ground states that humans can only focus on a single plane at a time. Continuity states that the elements that are arranged in a straight or curved line are easily perceived as correlated to each other. Closer argues that when we observe a set of complex elements, we tend to establish a recognized pattern between them. Connectedness, the principle that argues that there is a tendency to see connected elements as being of the same category. Thus, these principles show themselves relevant when it comes to Taekwondo and the perception of information and association of content. Several studies have already proven that a poor understanding of the exact position in which a technique should be executed can lead to a decrease in speed or performance of athletes. This methodology is not only related to design but also to gamification, an area focused on game development. Since games are activities that make use our mental capacity and quick thinking, we are constantly forced to assimilate sets of elements and extract visual or theoretical information from that interpretation. The premise of gamification is not only to understand what experience you want to pass to the user, but also to identify the type of content, elements, and mechanisms that will be necessary to create this approach. Gamification methodology, according to Yu Kai-Chou, is subdivided into 8 core drives and was developed with the purpose of identifying the basic psychology of human motivation and how it operates. In this way, the most relevant core drives for the present study were analyzed. Firstly, accomplishment, whose focus is personal achievement, that is, the main motivation comes from the user himself to progress and develop his skills. This category is generally intertwined with rewards and rankings where the player can visualize his constant progress. Next is the core that includes all the social components, social influence. In this core drive, the content recalls childhood memories as a goal to encourage interest in something. The third core drive unpredictability is driven by the unknown factor, the curiosity to find out what the next challenges are. And finally, the last core drive, avoidance, where the focus is on the motivation to avoid certain action that could cause further damage in the future, as is the example of games that force the player to do daily mission to earn points. Gamification is increasingly used in design, since it allows us to analyze the best mechanisms to use and also the type of motivation that attracts user. In short, both gamification and design have the same goal, to make the user experience as pleasant and engaging as possible. UX and UI are two distinct but complementary areas. UX design embraces the entire spectrum of the user experience, also evaluating factors such as usability and utility, while UI design is the way in which the same experience is achieved, being the junction of various types of elements and components, such as search fields, videos, and images. Therefore, UX is the process that covers the entire user journey on a specific platform, from analysis of the various user behaviors to the elaboration of the various scenarios and flow. UX design consists in identifying problems and difficulties of the user to improve and optimize the operation, ensuring in the same way the quality of the interface. The UI is the process that allows the user to control a device, software, or application, and this management can be performed through menus, buttons, or any other type of functionality that provides interaction between the user and the device in question. In other words, it is based on the improvement and optimization of interaction systems that allow fewer problems and errors affecting the user. This process requires continual refinement in terms of design, based on usability testing. In this context appear the usability heuristics. Jacob Nielsen developed some general rules that become known as heuristics evaluation. Using this principle, it is possible to evaluate and develop an interface quickly, collecting large amounts of information regarding the needs of interface. In this context, the following heuristics have shown important in this study and were later applied in the benchmarking analysis. Based on the principle that all information and content should be arranged logical and cohesively to be easily understood by the user, the heuristic match between system and the real world arise. In this situation, it is evaluated whether concepts are being used that are familiar to the user rather than complex and confusing terms. Thus, it will be simpler for a user to learn how to interface works. On the other hand, the user control and freedom heuristic state that the user should have control over the system they are using. The action of deleting something should always coexist with a confirmation notification or the ability to reverse the action. However, it is necessary to understand which elements of the interface can have a negative character, resulting in future inconvenience to the user, error prevention. The designer must provide which buttons or content may mislead the user. The process of interaction between the user and the interface must be supported through the main aspects of the system, aesthetic and minimalist design. Interface, as a rule, should only contain information relevant to the user or give greater prominence to the main content. Through these principles, it is possible to develop more comprehensive interface focused on usability and the user. The goal is to prevent user from feeling lost in the designed interface, since the user path must be smooth and without gaps to the target. Nowadays, there are several platforms that work as a complement to the athletes' training, helping them to develop faster and more efficiently. Nonetheless, in Taekwondo, no similar platforms have been developed. Therefore, platforms from other sports were analyzed, such as Fitbit, Homecourt, and Strava. Later, and with the purpose of quarantine information about digital methods developed for Taekwondo practitioners, the applications Mastery Taekwondo, Taekwondo Trainer, Dujanga, and Taekwondo WTF were also considered, which, despite not evaluating the athlete in the real time, are platforms whose purpose is the learning and training of this martial art. In Table 1 and Table 2 are evaluated relevant issues such as the versatility of platform use in various devices, the way the training and exercise are presented to users, and an analysis based on usability heuristics. Regarding the platform analysis, it is noted that only three, Fitbit, HomeCourt, and Strava, offer the athlete the versatility to be used in various types of device, such as desktop, tablet, and mobile. Although these platforms display a more complete and organized interface in terms of content, Mastery Taekwondo ends up differentiating itself from the others, presenting a feature that the others do not have, the distinction between user. This interface was designed so that user can train and perform exercise according to their level of experience. This type of functions provide user with continuous progress according to their currently ability, distinguishing between beginners and seniors. The development of goals and challenge can be observed in the first three platforms, which demonstrates an active strategy of loyalty to its users, thus motivating them to use the interface regularly. One of the common points between all the platforms is the sending of notifications to remind users of training schedules or the occurrence of some monetary event. From the identification of the character of the information to the easy in identifying the order and classification of the values, all interfaces present a functional and direct data structuring. Thus, it becomes clear how essential it is for the athletes to have a quiet perception of the various information relating to training, since a poor interpretation of the results will influence the athlete's future performance in the long term. The inclusion of technology in support is a fundamental pursuit for the physical and mental development of athletes. The perception of the main adversities of Taekwondo was crucial in this phase of the project, as well as the understanding of the relevance of design in the presentation and organization of the relevant information. The correct digitalization and ranking of information allow athletes to explore new ways of improving their performance. Thereby, it was necessary to explore interface elusive the other sport with a prospect center on the user analysis and evaluation. Thus, through the study of complementary platform to the athlete's training, the global program of the state-of-art benchmarking research and the main objectives of the interface were defined. As a conclusion, the purpose of the first stage of the project was to explore the potential of technology in combination with design to optimize and develop the performance of Taekwondo athletes. Thus, the following needs were identified in relation to Taekwondo and its technological means: non-existence of evaluation system for athletes, absence of a database to store information related to the athlete's training, lack of organization reading the learning content of the different techniques of the sport. The next step will be developing a solution that matches the needs of different users. To this end, personas focused on potential user will be developed as well the structuring of the information. Subsequently, usability tests will be developed to validate the prototype with the objective of improve an athlete's performance. Thank you for your attention.